Cool theory, Mr. Potts. But you know what I have to say about theories. Nothing tested. Nothing believed. Like gravity itself. Let's test this, shall we? Hello there! I'm the Creative Destroyer. If you're wondering what that sound is, I have a fan over there. I'm gonna have to turn it down a bit, and there would be a massive cooling breeze blowing on me, but I had to do the thing where I put the furnace filter in the intake part of the fan in Minnesota. Of all places, Minnesota! We are not supposed to get dirty air. That's supposed to be a West Coast problem. A Denver problem. Not here, though. But I had to do that because boomers are slacking on doing anything to solve climate change, global heating, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The emitting of heat-trapping gases into the atmosphere that they are almost entirely responsible for and could have stopped with the help of Gen X, with the help of Gen Y, with the help of Gen Z. But no. Now they're just retired. They have short attention spans. They're on their phones a lot more than the kids these days, while still mocking the kids these days for being on their phones. Boomers just don't like to do any meaningful work and haven't for their entire lives. But I digress. This isn't Boomer versus Millennial. This is Millennial versus Z. And I will continue to pronounce it Z because that's just the better way to pronounce it. I know I'm an American. There's an American flag behind me. There's a Minnesota flag behind me. And normal people in Minnesota don't pronounce it Z, but I do because it just sounds cooler. Okay? So, while I admit that I cheated, the fact is nothing tested, nothing believed, and it's better to know going in than just be left in the dark. So, I'm gonna delete these two chats. Refresh HuggingChat. This is HuggingChat, by the way. This is an open source chat bot. It's based off of Llama, the Open Assist, and I'm just going to give it a whirl. And make no mistake, I hate Paw Patrol. I really do. I'm not defending the show, but I do want to know how well HuggingChat can flesh out my vision, what I would do if I was given the same set of characters and basically the same setting as well. I didn't have to do much research. It's just this wacky idea came to me in a dream, and I think I can make a Paw Patrol movie that is more mature. You read the title, it's more mature. Infinitely more mature than Boomers. And just enough for older Gen Z and all of Millennials as of the recording in 2023. And, you know, it's a film that's aiming for a PG-13, but on the border of R. Search the web. change some lights, move some NEMA plugs, put on my thinking cap, and get into it. When I said search the web, I didn't mean I was going to open Google. I meant I was going to toggle this switch here that lets you turn the web search part on and off. And actually, I'm going to keep that off because just like GPT-4, this also cuts off in 2021, and that means it's no further context is necessary. Paw Patrol was definitely around in 2021. Now, my first impression with Paw Patrol was, I lived on the East Coast, but the school started, like, sometime between the switch from Nickelodeon to Nick Jr., I was still up and awake to see it, and I didn't have to run and get the bus yet. And as that was happening, I saw a disclaimer that was explaining that this show is educational because it teaches teamwork. That is every children's cartoon that is worth watching whatsoever. It encourages teamwork. It uses that. You saw it in Blue's Clues. You see it in SpongeBob. You see it in Fairly Odd Parents. Timmy has to work with the Odd Parents. All the major Cartoon Network cartoons. And if you're a parent who censors all of Cartoon Network because you don't want your kid thinking that other groups of people exist that might want the same lifestyle and opportunities that you do, or just a better way of life, watch Cartoon Network anyway. Like, act like a troublesome child, because in that case, it is justified. But yeah, Paw Patrol. I'm going to corrupt Paw Patrol itself, because Paw Patrol is a show where the older you are, the more your mind goes into neutral and slams the gas on, how would this actually work? It would not. So, I'm going to ask Hugging Face, which is open source, so unlike GPT, you will have more of an insight in how this came to its answer than you would on GPT and Bard, which have a lot of black boxing. This has the least of it. Make a film pitch for Paramount for a gritty Paw Patrol movie in which Chase is 16 years old. The pups are fully grown. Chase is the oldest. And they have to face a mission, knowing they may not come back alive. Gritty Paw Patrol! And I'm not going with this title. I have my own. I thought of it already. Alright, so in this intense, action-packed animated feature film, 16-year-old Chase leads his fully grown team of brave pups on their most dangerous mission yet. One that could cost them their lives. With high stakes, mature themes, and adrenaline-pumping action sequences. That alone would be reason enough to watch. I love Marvel. I love the first Transformers. Just having a Paw Patrol movie with this is going to pique my curiosity. This is Paw Patrol like you've never seen before. Synopsis. When a devastating threat endangers the safety and security of Adventure Bay, Chase knows he must gather his adult team of skilled pups. So they're going to be more mature than he is. But they still get to talk. To tackle the situation head on. But as they prepare for battle, they realize that this may well be their last stand together. Together, Chase, Sky, who does aviation, Marshall, the fire dog who would lose his job in the real world, Rubble, that's demolition, no, that's construction, Rocky, Waste, Zuma, and Everest. Zuma's the water dog, and Everest is the snow one. Adventure Bay is pretty much British Columbia, but I'll come back to that in a bit. Engage in fierce combat against impossible odds, putting everything on the line for their community. Along the way, they discover the true meaning of courage, friendship, and sacrifice, proving once again that there's no task too tough for the Paw Patrol. Target audience, kids and families who love adventure stories, blah, 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 blah. Heroism, sacrifice, and bravery, but also contain enough seriousness to attract older viewers. Parentheses, teenagers, but like adults too. Like, I want adults in getting into this. Someone who has never seen an episode of Paw Patrol suddenly being curious enough to watch this and only this and being satisfied. They would appreciate the more complex characters, mature themes, higher level of danger, intensity, and emotional impact. Older millennials who used to watch the TV No. Older Gen Z. You got that one wrong. Who used to watch the TV show as kids may also enjoy watching the grittier version of their own children, with their own children, creating multi-generational appeal. Matt Pat included, but I am slapping him in the face here. Key features: dramatic storyline with high stakes and intense action sequences, complex character development and exploration of mature themes such as selfishness, loyalty, and sacrificing one's life for others, emotional depths, and impactful moments throughout the film, driving deeper connection with the audience, showcasing positive value, friendship, working together, determination, resilience. Highlights how Chase has grown into a strong leader over time as he takes charge during the crisis. Visually striking animation style, combating elements from both the original cartoon and modern computer animations techniques to create a unique look that appeals to older viewers while still remain loyal. This is just the script for the surface level of this, and this is the best approach I have noticed through trial and error. And in this film, Chase and Marshall almost die. Explain who the villain is, how they are relatable, who the new villain, because otherwise it's just going to be that Foggy Bottom guy that has a foggy bottom. Who the new villain in this show is, how they are relatable, and I'm a hypocrite. I personally hate anyone that calls a movie a show. I know that you're old and your brain is starting to mush words with similar definitions together and that you understand it when it comes out of your mouth. But if you're talking to somebody like me who also prefers quality in communication, then yeah, I'm going to be a little bit irritated. It's like calling It's like CD and DVD, and boomers themselves did that 20 years ago. And now it's gotten worse. You know, the all game consoles are Nintendos. No, they're not. And I know you're smarter than that. So stop begging for attention by, in many cases, intentionally not putting effort into fitting the word with the definition. If they're not like this, you're going to frustrate people, and it's not going to be good. And no amount of quirkiness and laughing it off is going to change that. Who the new villain in this is, how they are relatable, and what their motivation is to destroy adventure as well as Paw Patrol. What is Hugging Face gonna come up with? The villain's name is Dr. Helix. Dr. Helix was once known as Dr. Cindy Shepard, a renowned marine biologist. I would do this if I wasn't CBS Viacom. The people who own the Paramount Company, the people who own the rights to distribute Paw Patrol in the United States. I would do this if Paw Patrol was a Disney show to kind of stick it to SpongeBob. But I digress. Cindy Shepard, a renowned marine biologist and conservationist dedicated to protecting the environment and wildlife. However, after losing her family in a tragic accident involving oil pollution caused by reckless corporate practices, she became disillusioned and vengeful. Believing that humanity had irreparably damaged nature beyond repair, she turned towards dark science and began experimenting with mutagenic DNA manipulation, seeking ways to eradicate man. It's Thanos. I'm sorry, you're too close to Thanos. Too close to when that movie came out. Eradicate mankind and restore balance to the natural world. Obsessed with her cause, she saw the destruction of Adventure Bay and the elimination of those responsible for it as the first step in achieving her twisted goals. Try coming up with another villain with a different motivation. Baron von Vulture is an eccentric... Yeah, this is the one I want. Billionaire industrialist obsessed with power and control. Growing up wealthy, he was sheltered from hardships and always expected success without effort. Despite having access to top education and resources, he lacked real achievement in anything significant due to his laziness and entitlement attitude. This is worse than the mayor of Foggy Bottom. Seeking validation in the path to dominance, he became interested in the technology sector, investing heavily in experimental projects designed to harvest raw energy from alternate dimensions and sustainable materials. After years of research, he finally succeeded in developing breakthrough technologies he believed could revolutionize society. You made Dr. Ock. You made Doc Ock. But, okay, let's see if you can make this more unique. Albeit at great risk. Motivation, convinced he deserves credit for saving the world through his innovations. Baron von Vulture schemes to eliminate anyone who interferes or doubts him. He intends to use... Okay, you made someone different from Doc Ock. He intends to use his inventions for maximum profit by selling exclusive rights to governments and major industries, enslaving entire populations in exchange for continued protection. His ultimate plan involves exploiting adventure... Way different from Doc Ock. This is now a political thriller. His ultimate plan involves exploiting Adventure Bay as the ideal location for his masterpiece, a massive portal allowing free passage between realities controlled solely by himself. That's better. The key components to his scheme involve siphoning power directly from Adventure Bay's unique geological features and magical vibrations. Okay, you threw in something for younger audiences too. Because magic isn't real. I'm sorry to break it to you if you're actually in the age of the target audience of Paw Patrol and happened upon this video. Magic is not real. But if you have something coming out like this, to me in 2023, looks like magic. It took very little effort. Basically a spell word, a series of words like a spell and a prompt, and it spat this out, and it looks like magic to me because the progress, the output, the thing it gave to me exceeds the speed of my comprehension. So if that's your definition of magic, if something is given to you faster than you can understand how, then yeah, this is magic. But magic as like a resource, and that's not real. You have to put stuff together to get magic. There's a lot of things that go into making a computer. So magic is kind of subjective in that sense. By building a massive generator underneath the city and channeling its potential energy, he can tap into untold sources of renewable, limitless energy. To achieve this goal requires eliminating any witnesses, saboteurs, and competitors that might oppose or expose him. Von Vulture excels in social engineering, psychological manipulation, things the Paw Patrol have not dealt with in any serious way yet, and strategic planning, making him a formidable adversary when dealing with others while not physically imposing, unlike me. If you have seen me behind a register, these hands are not worth messing with. If you've seen my reflexes, they're not worth messing with. I'm not trying to talk myself up. What I'm saying is just be nice around other people. And if there is any reason I have to get involved, that was your decision and yours alone. While not physically imposing, he possesses advanced knowledge of cutting-edge technologies and artificial intelligence systems capable of overwhelming opponents mentally and emotionally. I want this. This is artificial intelligence. This is a techno-fable like Terminator 2, but it's Paw Patrol. And the stakes are more relatable than in Terminator 2 because we see some of this in the real world. We see this with Amazon. We see this with, not so much Google, but Facebook definitely. And, I mean, there's criticism of YouTube that it shows you videos that makes you become the worst form of you depending on who you are. And the problem with that is people with borderline thought, where it's either yes or no, black or white, they are not going to have any skepticism and just fall off the deep end, endangering others and worse, themselves. I think you know what kind of people I'm talking about. I'm talking about a lot of boomers, but also some millennials who went down this path of Gamergate and have yet to come back. And let me be clear, now more than ever, we want you back. Keep going, keep explaining this guy. Surrounding his army will consist primarily of brainwashed mercenaries each equipped with high-tech gear tailored to counter specific threats. This is reminding me of the SpongeBob movie, but I think that Shigo did it in Kim Possible 2. Von Vulture has also created customized combat androids based on data mining his past encounters with law enforcement. So when they say they might, when I put in they might not come back, this makes it look like it. So very strong androids. And Cosmic Portal, like Beavis and Butthead do the universe. And if you do this with enough heart, you can come up with something really unique. And I like Baron Von Struggle, but I do want to cross-check if that is real. No, that's Baron von Steuben from the Revolutionary War. But Baron von Struggle is a relatable villain in that he is basically everything wrong with big tech CEOs being held unaccountable at once. He is the guy that thinks that because he was born with a lot of daddy's money, he deserves to be far wealthier than that, and that nothing should touch that wealth, no matter how they got it, no matter where it came from, no matter if they actually earned it. And they'll convince you that they did because they're a genius, but when you find out how they really got that money, you start to realize that they don't really deserve that money. They didn't build that all on their own. They hardly even had their hands on the companies that they bought out. Musk. And just sold them off. Look, Elon Musk is the technology equivalent of Eddie Lampert. You know what he did to Sears? That's what Musk is going to do with all the companies he owns. If you have shares of Tesla, don't take anything I say as a call to action. Do your own research, obviously. But from what I have seen, in my opinion, if you have any shares of Tesla, sell them and run. And warn others. 2. A lot of people don't like that Musk guy for what he did to Twitter. And his other companies are not profitable without massive subsidies either. He is even more vulnerable to that than if oil companies lost their subsidies. And by the way, if he makes Amy Klobuchar too upset, she will yank those subsidies. So that is the only leash he has on him right now. Amy Klobuchar is a moderate, but she is very gung-ho in going after a big tech. Because in Minnesota, of course you are. I like this. I want to go a little further into it, though. Explain how Chase and Marshall nearly die at the hands of this villain. Nearly. And just going to think about how it got to this point. Because this is an apocalyptic scenario, and Hollywood's really into that, but if we do this to Paw Patrol, maybe that'll shake Hollywood up and get them to start thinking, hey, this thing shouldn't have been successful. Maybe we need to start doing something unique. Even if it means just age-upping some hated... And this is the only one that they can actually do this to, so, like, this would be like jump the shark for apocalypse. We gotta put more seconds from disaster on the world type scenario. Okay, so with Adventure Bay falling apart and the situation becoming increasingly dire, Baron von Vulture directs his attention toward dismantling the local government security measures. Since I would get a different mayor, since a lot of time has passed. Because most cities and even suburbs... Well, Adventure Bay is like a suburb on the coast. Which brings me back to British Columbia. What Adventure Bay is, it's like the Tybee Island of British Columbia. And I have lived in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, for about 10 years. And Tybee Island wasn't consolidated into Savannah itself. So in a sense, unlike a lot of other islands and suburbs, when they did that, and keep in mind, Georgia has been wanting to be more progressive for a very long time, and this is just starting to happen. I know there are hiccups, I know there's Kemp, but it's not going to take much more pushing for Georgia to get back on the path of the golden age of that state from around 1990 to 2002 before they got a very bad deal. But Adventure Bay's like this, but it's like in the other corner, it's in British Columbia, way up here. So it's temperate, and the bay is less temperate than the mainland, which is kind of like Tybee Island. There's a lot more heat, and climate change is going to kill Tybee Island before Savannah. So climate change, if there was no Paw Patrol, would kill off Adventure Bay before Adventure City, which is next to Adventure Bay. So there's your geography lesson on Paw Patrol. While trying to gather information on Von Vulture's new robot soldiers, Chase and Marshall get caught off guard by traps activated within the city's infrastructure, which have been altered to harm intruders rather than protect them, meaning the citizens. Do you have access to my microphone, HuggingChat? They narrowly escape danger thanks to quick reflexes and teamwork, only to find themselves surrounded by dozens of upgraded... There's no Foggy Bottom in this. I don't want Foggy Bottom in this movie. Otherwise, the whole this is a more mature take just falls apart very quickly. The thugs open fire. The above, but the crooks are not from Foggy Bottom, and there is a new mayor. Try that again. Okay, so having a quick reference is fine to Foggy Bottom with former cronies. For those willing to join the cause, Von Vultures offers unique opportunities for growth with his empire. He does this how real-life villains of this sort would do. To ensure compliance and further minimize risk, Von Vulture monitors activities using encrypted neural interfaces, allowing swift responses as anything goes awry. This arrangement benefits both sides, as the prisoners see a chance at regaining society's acceptance. He's hiring prisoners for his tech company. And that's why they're mad at the pups. So he works with the prisoners. How do Chase and Marshall nearly die at the hands of this villain? Try again. Okay, so there's too much traffic right now. And that's another problem with HuggingChat. Like, if there are too many people on it, it will stop working in the web form of that. This is free, by the way. How do Chase and Marshall nearly die at the hands of this villain? Well, apparently it's going to give a bunch of different ways. Psychological attacks, guilt-tripping Marshall. That makes sense, because Marshall is a klutz. And that would be like the first twist on that famous scene from Lion King, to use guilt to go after the good guy. Probably since the Lion King. Divide and conquer. If Foggy Bottom is as bad as this is saying in the show, then I guess there has to be a Foggy Bottom here. But for Christ's sake, please explain to us how you could have a city named Foggy Bottom, a suburb named Foggy Bottom. And, so he delivers chilling messages, he goes, and with Von Vulture, seems like he wins. Basic necessity scarce, people struggle to survive, shortage, rationing and oppression. Labor camps. Damn. The theater and schoolhouse lay derelict and abandoned. Symbols of innocent joy now eradicated from daily existence. Children must attend indoctrination classes, focusing on maintaining order and glorifying Von Vulture's reign. Only a few brave individuals dare to resist, desperately trying to provide aid to families torn apart by the dark regime. Lost and downtrodden. Rider searches for purpose, often slipping away from safety to witness the suffering firsthand. Gathering accounts from hidden pockets of resistance he discovers poignant tales of bravery and sacrifice within these seemingly defeated population clinging to faint glimmers of hope. Over time, Ryder begins piecing together scraps of information that lead to the rumored secret network operating beneath Von Vulture's rule. Desperate measures call for desperate measures. Okay, so Ryder initiates contact with these alleged saviors through encrypted channels. He receives cryptic instructions pointing him toward potential eyes of knowledge regarding his missing puppy companions, though whether these apparent liberators have any connection with to the original. Okay, you're hallucinating. Go home, HuggingChat. You're drunk. There cannot be Scooby-Doo in a Paw Patrol movie. The original Mystery Inc. Okay. Well, that was fun. But I have to try and put in one more piece of plot to try and salvage this. Explain how Von Vulture invented the backpacks to begin with, how they got to Adventure Bay, not the backpacks, the pup packs to begin with, how they got to Adventure Bay, and how he never asked, and why he never sought credit for them, or even knew where they wound up. So he accidentally makes the very thing that destroys him. And research into arcane artifacts. During his early years of experimentation and research into arcane artifacts and technology, Von Vulture stumbled upon ancient texts detailing the concept of magically infused animal companion elements. For sake of not trying to turn kids too stupid and to get more mature people into this, we're just going to say the ancients called it magical. Sort of like how I am calling AI magical for helping me pitch a mature, gritty Paw Patrol movie to Paramount. And I hope they're listening. I hope they listen to my Wayne's World pitch, too. Because, honestly, that was almost entirely me, and I just couldn't make the bots come up with anything. I couldn't take it this far like I could with HuggingChat. Anyway, during his early years in experimentation and research into arcane artifacts and technologies, Von Vulture stumbled upon ancient texts detailing the concept of magically infused animal companion enhancements. Keenly interested in expanding his own capabilities without directly augmenting his body through cybernetics. Not for me. That is for thee. Von Vulture poured resources into understanding the principles behind this forgotten art. Eventually, after countless failures and near misses, Von Vulture succeeded in crafting his very first pair of prototype pup packs using powerful magic imbued into rare gemstone components. Unbeknownst to anyone else at this point, except perhaps his most trusted associates who helped facilitate the project, Von Vulture tested these prototypes on animals caught in the wild, refining and perfecting the design along the way. So this adds a glimmer of truth to the Matt Pat theory. So, I'm not a jerk. It would be nice to have just a little of that into my idea that would otherwise thoroughly debunk it.
Upon achieving satisfactory results, Von Vulture began developing a mass production version of the Pup Packs, which he planned to use on pivotal figures in major cities or influential communities around the world. While he maintained detailed notes about the creation process, Von Vulture intentionally concealed any records indicating his involvement or interest in such esoteric arts. Therefore, when the infant versions of the Paw Patrol came into play, nobody could trace the roots back to him. Furthermore, with the success of Project Zeta coming to light, Von Vulture had bigger fish to fry than admitting culpability over what were essentially minor pawns in his grand scheme. Until they suddenly were not. Although he knew the origin story behind the Pup Packs like the back of his hand, Von Vulture never openly acknowledged them. Instead, he allowed fate to carry the devices wherever destiny would lead them. Little did he know then, but those small machines held significant power capable of reshaping the course of history, should anyone possess the wisdom and courage to wield them properly under dire circumstances. As long as Von Vulture secured absolute dominance through other means, he remained content letting past creations live on without him. And I added the without him part, because that would cap off a very poetic justice for Von Vulture. And I think it started calling him Von Struggle, but I'm going to call him Von Vulture, because Vulture's an animal. Vultures are almost universally seen as the bad guy, but it's a better name than Von Do and Von Struggle, because Von Struggle, like, that's like you're just going after Nazis for the sake of going after Nazis, while you have this guy who subscribes to a lot of that ideology. Some would argue word for word and following that playbook, but it doesn't look like that at first. It only becomes apparent as it escalates. Von Vulture wants to take credit for doing something, the best act of mankind possible, but he goes about it in the worst possible way. There is no Scooby-Doo or Mystery Inc. in this movie. There's mind games, like drug or techno kind, he does a lot of stuff that you see in the real world, but worse, and you can see the worst impacts of that in a Paw Patrol movie. A Paw Patrol movie that should rightfully be titled, given what they're doing to Chase here, A Prayer for Chase. That's what I would call this. And honestly, I was brainstorming this too without AI. And my thought went to something kind of close. My idea of a mature Paw Patrol movie is to start it in Edina, Minnesota. Because why not? There's tax credits for that. And in it, it's 2016, and you have a guy named Dr. Dayton, who works for Minnesota Robotics, a fictional company, MR. And he starts presenting it to the CEO his idea for something called the Police Integrity Project. It says it's in, August 2016. And it hints strongly, if not admits, that this is because of the killing of Philandro Castile. In this setting, Dr. Dayton shows off these packs that partially automate things like enforcing the law, fighting fires, building stuff, taking some of that away from people and putting it on the machines. And they would learn over time how to properly respond based on the input of the public. And so they willfully donate this technology to Adventure Bay, way out west, and the company likes it, but after the mayor of Foggy Bottom gets it, after it starts to become reverse engineered, Dr. Dayton doesn't. So he wants to destroy all of it. All of the packs. Everything that made Paw Patrol Paw Patrol. Baby, cradle, and all. And in that movie, everyone is left wondering, this tech did good. This tech did bad. It's another warning about AI. In a sense, and adopting technology. Are we ever really in control of what we make? The consequences of what we make? And is it better to work with them or against them? And it is also a movie in which Chase and Marshall also die, but you're gonna feel worse for Chase than Marshall, because the show kinda just made it that way, and it's still titled A Prayer for Chase. So, if anyone at Paramount is watching this, this is something your own writers can work with. And you can pick my idea or the one HuggingChat came up with. And have your team go nuts. You have my permission. And I just want to see a gritty Paw Patrol movie. I want to see something like Paw Patrol aged up more successfully than My Little Pony in the 2010s. For those of you that made it all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate that. I really do. And as always, subscribe if you like, and share if you care.